Hey guys, and welcome to the Believing Better series. I think this is day 5, and my guest today is Danielle Perrodin. Danielle is an integrative style and image coach. I say for rising leaders or for holistic health and wellness practitioners. And Danielle I know I've met a few of your clients that are in functional pharmacy, and that's really who you are styling their mind and body, right? I say it's so much more than a makeover because I do think when we hear style coach, we think they're just going to take us shopping in dresses. And that's not what happened. You made me cry.
Well, I didn't intend to make you cry, but it is more than medication and more than mindset and more than a makeover. Yes.
Yes. Tell us a little bit about your journey here. So you've been with me for a few years. I don't even know how long we've been doing this anymore. But you came in through the integrative coach training. You're now in self-healing masters. You and I do a lot of work together. You and even Mallory, what we do for entrepreneurs. So let's just kind of go back to where it all began.
Back to the beginning. Yeah, I'm kind of like you. I forget. Is it 2 years? Is it 3 years? I don't know. It just feels like it was just one continuous, I don't know. They say whenever you have fun, time flies. Kind of seems like that to me.
Do you even feel like the same person?
No, not even close. Not even close. And I think the people around me would say the same thing. Like I kind of left her behind, and it's okay because I brought the best parts of her with me. So I'm happy and there's no regrets. And um, has it always been easy? No,
Hmm.
but just keep showing up and taking, the next step and one foot in front of the other. And I kind of started my whole journey with pushing myself out of my comfort zone. And I just feel like as scary as it is, it's amazing. There's nothing like growing, continuous growth. I think that's why we're here. If you're not growing, you're dying. And I mean, in a sense, I was dying because I was just reclusing so much. I was just shrinking, and
I was
my body kept
shrinking.
getting smaller and smaller
I was shrinking
because of all of the perceptions and rules and obligations and um, thoughts of how things are supposed to be
Mhm.
and quote unquote what's certain and what is safe to me and how can I be comfortable. And
Tell
so
me a
the
little bit more about that. How was it supposed to be? What were your beliefs about what it was supposed to be like or what you're
oh
supposed to
so
be doing?
I mean I had this fairy tale belief that you would grow into an adult because of course high school was torture, right? Growing up in a big family, it was just always loud and messy and kind of chaotic a little bit. I mean, in a beautiful way, but I just thought that, oh, you get married and then you get a job and then you have kids and then you get a promotion and then you get the house and the car and then you have the neighbors and the friends and the community and then like you've arrived is what I believed. And
Mm.
I felt like an imposter because it's like I would never arrive, even though, I graduated from college and got the professional degree and kept going up the chain at work and, had the beautiful kids, like, you know, prayed for a little girl with blue eyes and twins. And like I got everything that I wanted. And, I did have a rough upcoming with when I was a young adult, but just I always kind of felt that okay, if I just keep going, if I just keep going, I'm gonna arrive. And that never happened. So then I felt like a failure. I felt like I was missing something that other people knew about. Always kind of felt out of the club, uh, outsider. Um, a lot of that, which was very uncomfortable. It was kind of sad and lonely. And I just felt like I was always looking outside of a window into the
Mm, mm,
on the
mm.
other side.
this takes me to like what we do in Self-Healing Masters, right? With the human design and the gene keys and the, you know, as being 6-2s, we do kind of have that. We are looking out, like it's that visionary, right? It's like not attained. It's not there. It's such a disappointment.
Mm-hmm.
Such a disappointment. Because one of the things you said was like, yeah, I just believe that life sucks and then you die. Like, it's just something that we go through.
Yes. And so like that was not my subconscious belief. That was my conscious belief, was that life sucks and then you die. And so, like once I realized, okay, there is no arrival, life just sucks and then you die and you just, wake up and do everything the same as you did yesterday and just hope that, you don't get in a wreck or you pay all your bills, everybody's happy. And of course, you can never make everyone happy. So that's unattainable, first of all. And so, and I'm an Enneagram 9, so I'm like the peacemaker, right? So I'm up going around trying to make everything peaceful. And that's, I mean, if you work with other people,
Yeah.
that you can't control everything.
So how has it changed by doing this work? Tell me what
So
was.
so by doing this work, um, I was able to make a different choice. And not that it wasn't gonna suck, but it wasn't just your life is gonna suck and then you die. It's like, no, life sucks and you live. And you get to choose your suck. And I hate that word so much, but we're going with it, right? The beauty is in the contrast of it not going the way you want and then the way you want it to go. And so it's like this ebb and flow. It's the contrast of the light and dark. It's the beauty. And so once I realized that, like without the dark, you cannot see the light. Without the mess, you don't see the beauty.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had a
Contrast is
new
everything.
appreciation of life. There's growth and there's death and there's everything in between. But for me, this work has brought me to appreciate that instead of life sucks and then you die, it's everything is happening for me, not to me, even the bad stuff. And
What about so you had a perception or an understanding about career-wise, something that you should do, it should be safe, this is supposed to be the thing, and then you came to the realization like there was still again no arrival, and you wanted to do something a little different. That's what we're going to talk about, with styling and all of this stuff. And how was that experience for you to, like, I'm a pharmacist, I'm like make all this money and do all this stuff, this is just the role I play at home, it's like our security, that's like just the thing I'm supposed to do, it's what I'm here to do, but yet you had this driving passion that was like kept pulling you up and out of that. So how was that experience, with I'm not responsible, I'm not supposed to be doing this, I can't go and have fun, I got to go back to the life sucks and then you die. Can you take us through that journey?
Yeah, so I graduated from pharmacy school. I am, successful pharmacist. So a lot of the pharmacists work for retail, and it can be miserable. There's just in general, working 12 hours on your feet. Even if you're pregnant, you can't sit on a stool. You can't go to the bathroom. You can't eat lunch even. Like it can be brutal for those of you that aren't aware. But I didn't even have that. Like I had, and I have to, be grateful. Like I've always had lunch breaks. I've always had, great working environments. And for the most part, I've had self-growth in the pharmacy industry, but it was when I had children. So when I had my children and then my purpose kind of shifted, it's like, okay, so then at that point, it was like, okay, I can't be great at both. I can't be great at the pharmacy and at home with the children, right? And at some point so I was pregnant whenever I graduated from pharmacy school. So there was no being a pharmacist and not a mom.
Mm-hmm.
So I literally the day I became a pharmacist, I was a mom. My daughter I was pregnant for her. And so there was really no transition. And I just lost myself. And so, I just dove right into the full-time career. my happiness depended on my achievements, and not just at my career, but also as a mom, are the kids, you know, well fed, bathed? Are they well dressed? Are they polite? Are they in the best school and all of that? So like I was putting my identity in work and being a mom, and I just completely lost myself, and I lost my own passions. And what I've discovered, that that's really important. Those things are there for a reason. They're who you are. And whenever you dull that light, or you dim it, or you lose it, you're not fully showing up as your best self, as the career woman or as the mom, because that is you. That is um, the energy, the light that you could take into those roles.
But
And
your
so
belief was, I can't do both, right? I can't be good at both.
the belief that, yeah, the belief was definitely, I can't do both. I just felt so split. When I first had my daughter, I was working late shifts, and then I decided, okay, well, no, I need to focus on being a mom. And so I'm going to go part-time. So then I went part-time, and then I felt like, oh, well, you need to provide. So then it's like, okay, so then I went back to full-time. And it was like, I could never feel that hole, that need that was missing inside of me. But when this whole time, what was missing inside of me was me. It was coming back to me.
Yeah. And that creative expression and service, that was when you came across fashion and style and eyelashes and hair extensions and, all of that stuff. I remember, like, because what was your belief when you were like, kind of like shame about putting it out there on social media because you're supposed to be a pharmacist, and they're going to think whatever about me?
There was a lot of shame. It was, first of all, my husband doesn't like us to stand out. Like he's very, we're not supposed to stand out, like don't be seen, that kind of thing. But I had this whole like energy in me that, no, like I want to go and help people become beautiful and share all these things. And um, whenever I was on social media wanting to promote my business, a lot of the people that I worked with were online, and I was connected with them, right? Because I had this whole life before. It wasn't just like, oh, now I sell hair extensions and lashes and, talking about beauty and law of attraction and all this inner work stuff. It's like, it was like I had two lives, and it was very painful to go through and to navigate and to figure out, like, because, which hat am I wearing? I can't wear both hats. Who am I? And it wasn't until I really figured out, no, okay, this is who I am. I don't have to put on any hats. I need to take hats off and then just show up. And when I did, that's when people were like totally relating to me, thanking me for my vulnerability and connecting. Like that's where the connection really clicked. It was like, oh, there's Danielle. Where has she been? Because that other stuff, that putting on the hats, there's this vibration, this energy, like it doesn't send out the message that you think it is. The other person is not receiving it because you're not in your full flow. You're at your full highest self. Your essence is not flowing through you. Once you just like drop all of those agendas, then it's like you arrive, and then people, they're just welcoming you with open arms. And because they're real people too, right? So it, regardless if they're a doctor or a nurse, like that's just their roles. Just like you were playing a role, I was playing a role. And so then it was like, oh wait, you're a real person? Oh, me too, I'm a real person too. The craziest thing. But
how would you describe the work that we've done together? Like if I'm saying, like, I remember from the beginning, you signed up and the next morning at 7:30, you said, you texted me and said, you're so going to work for this money. You were like, here it goes,
yeah,
that kind of
like,
thing. Like it's starting.
you were like, oh Lord, what did I just get into? But yeah, so that first phone call, thankfully, because I don't know. I think if that would not have happened, I wouldn't have been so sold in the program, and I probably would have been one that kind of fell off. But
Let's stay there for a second though. That's interesting. You're like, if I
probably,
wouldn't have needed this and saw the proof early on, I would have been one of the ones that fell off.
I believe that.
because it was too far from what you could believe at the time?
Because I had this ongoing belief that things don't work for me, or that it's too good to be true, or life sucks and then you die and that's it. Like there's no answer to this. It's just like, oh, that was just you getting your hopes up again, and that's just another thing that you tried. And so immediately it was kind of life or death for me, and I was able to gain that, like you say, power and control of my life, like in an instant. And so it was just very, very clear to me that this works without a shadow of a doubt.
Was it because you experienced it physically in your body? Like you experienced the whole entire process that very first day, guys, like it was like a 7:30 in the morning. I don't know if you text me or whatever. I think I called you right whenever you said
Yeah,
something.
we got on,
Like,
I text you, I'm like, yeah, good luck with this. And then you called me and we stayed on the phone for like ever. I remember I was sitting outside, and I'm sure my husband was like, what is going on? Like, what are
and
you
you
doing?
went from, so before we got on the call, you believed a certain way. And then after the
Yeah.
call, you felt a certain way.
Yeah. So before we got on the call, it was like I was slapped in the face with that belief, life sucks and then you die. And how can you solve that problem for me? All the money in the world is not going to solve that problem for me.
And wasn't it? It was a death. Yeah. That you were experiencing. You had just gotten a call.
Yeah, it was a death, and it was just like, seriously, life, this is just life, period. Like we were meant to suffer, and it's just hard, and it's supposed to be difficult and all that stuff. And so then you offered me a different option, and no one had ever offered that to me, ever. And I was like, okay, this is interesting. um Very interesting.
What do you think the shift was? Was it the being able to go into your body and feel the emotion? Because you had
Yeah,
kind of ejected.
it was like the pain was so deep, and then it wasn't. So it just like was able to drop it. Um, like no one was ever able to do that for me. Like I didn't even know that was.
There's possible.
And so I mean, I just saw it like it was so painful, and then it wasn't. But it wasn't in a fake kind of way. It wasn't in a kind of way that was denying it or resisting it, or not looking at it. It was processing it. And it was just such a beautiful experience that I just knew I wanted to share that with other people. That, yes, life can suck, but there's a lot of things that can happen before you die, and it's really your choice. And I've always known that, like, I have this big calling. I've just always known that, like, whenever I am on death's bed, whenever that does happen, that I want to be able to look back and have no regrets, and know that, I made an impact on other people's lives. Because why else are what we hear, and why else are we having to suffer so much? That was the biggest thing for me, I think.
And being able to put the suffering on the circumstance, not on all experiences. Like, oh yeah, that does suck, and we can still be having this other experience. And I think that's what you experienced that day. Because before that call, how were you experiencing? Because you had other deaths that were really intense. You had great losses before that. And I think that's when you recognize that you had never even processed or experienced those. You were just a walking numb.
Yeah, I think I kind of knew that I hadn't processed those, but I didn't think I could survive that. And I guess knowing that I had the power to do that was just life changing. And knowing that I could go and help others do the same is just incredible. And I have done that. I've been on a few different calls where, I'm not a grief coach. I've thought about it before, maybe I'm supposed to be a grief coach. I don't know. Decided that that's not what I wanted to do, but everyone has loved ones that die. And so, with my clients, we do have to process some of that. And I've just recently, within the past week or two, I've had to hold space for someone who, had someone with a life altering diagnosis, And it's a beautiful gift for me to be able to do that.
Well, you sort of are a grief coach in the way that we have to grieve that old image and that old identity. This chick cried. If you didn't hear our podcast, I don't remember the number now, you know what it is, but I definitely had to die to a part of myself.
Yeah. Mhm.
I was really believing the story. I was going to run out. I was never going to be the clothes that I was going to need, and nothing was going to fit. I'm too tall. I'm too big. I'm too whatever it was. I had such an intense story. And the work we were doing together, I did have to die to those beliefs. I had to die to that part of myself.
You have to grieve the life that you had to create the life that you'd want.
Mm-hmm.
You just do.
Mm-hmm.
And we're so attached to it. It's what we've always known. It's our comfort. Even if it sucks, that's the crazy part. Like, we're addicted to the suck. We're addicted to the part that is not feeling good.
Because we
And
believe that's how it's supposed to be. So
right.
we like taking that to our grave, right? Unless we have this kind of intervention, you know, in between, which takes me to the next question, which is, how would you describe that in between process when you're no longer her and you're not yet here, right? Because that's what you're helping your client shift through when they're going, whenever they're doing this, the style and image and embracing confidence and or embodying confidence and being. What was that experience like for you when you're like, I'm doing this thing? Because I remember even the question when you were deciding on signing up and you're like, okay, I'm in, like you knew in your gut you were doing it. Then you were like, how the heck am I going to tell my husband? Like, what now? What do I do now? Right. So even for you to step into the identity of the person who invests in herself, because that was a big story for you.
It was so scary. It was so scary. Because, I didn't feel like I deserved it, first of all. So there was that lack of deserving. It's like, okay, you're still paying on school loans. Like, you've invested so much on yourself. You're going to invest more money on yourself. Like, look where it's gotten you so far, right? But I knew in my heart, like I knew 100% that this is what I was called to do. So that part was easy. But then it was the perception of other people that was very painful. How do you just stop being the person that you've always been? And all of those expectations that people have for you, like they really expect you to be a certain person. And when you stop being that person, all of a sudden it's very uncomfortable. Because then it's like there's this void, and then people are looking around like, wait, why aren't you still doing all of those things you used to do? That's what we perceive you to be. And if you're not that person, then we don't know who you are. And we love you and we don't want to lose you. So don't do that. That's making me uncomfortable. I have to coach a lot of my clients with that too. I'm like, yeah, that's just this thing that comes up. Like, they still love you, and they are just afraid for you, and it's okay. You can just, assure them that you know what you're doing and that you're on the right path. So that's the first part. The second part is like, just shit starts hitting the fan whenever you try and change stuff. Like,
When you
because
say yes.
you say yes, and then your subconscious is like, put the brakes on, SOS, sound the alarm. Something has gone wrong. Stop her before she ruins everything. And so, like, you just start attracting all sorts of weird relationship issues, work issues.
Oh my God, the
It's
calls
great.
from work. Do you remember that? We don't even discuss this anymore.
Well,
But
yeah,
do
yeah,
you remember all
yeah.
the
It
stuff
was
that would come up
snowball.
at work?
Stuff at work just kept coming up, and the more the more it was like a snowball effect. It was definitely on this snowball. And it was the weirdest thing. And what it all ended up being was that so again, I had a belief that I could not go and do this thing that is now on my heart and is that my calling with this career. And so I was self-sabotaging the career in order to feel safe going to the calling
Mhm,
thing. And
mhm.
so
Let it
that
all fall
it
apart so I can have permission to go do the thing I
have
really want to do.
permission. And also, if it didn't work, then it's not my fault. It's all so crazy, but it's your subconscious to try to protect you. And honestly and truly, the permission, I just had to give myself permission. And so again, I was so pissed off at you whenever I called you that day. And I was like, this woman has lost her mind. Like, she don't understand. This is fact, matter of fact, that this is happening. But you would not give up. And you were like, But what if it's not? Like, this is, and you were just like, this is what it is. And I was like, okay, well, I was really pissed off until it just kind of sunk. And so every time with this work, every time I'm just like, okay, I'm open to try and see, right? So let me try it a different way and then see. And so then I would just make this little tweak and try it a little different way, and I would get different experiences. And I was like, wow, this is insane.
She might be
Like, I
right.
have way more control on what's going on in my reality than
Yes.
I ever could have imagined, in my results, in my relationships, stuff I was attracting. And it's like, wait, so I just have to concentrate on myself and who I'm showing up as, and then other people will kind of line up to that. Like, whoa, I've never thought I had any sort of power like that. I've always felt very powerless. Like, I was just always the quiet girl, shy. I was follow the leader. Um, I was always attracted to these leadership roles, but I was always kind of like vice president or, let me just kind of do this, but be quiet and do it. I never thought I had, and it's not in a controlling other people kind of way. It's controlling my own reactions and responsibilities and how I respond to people, instead of being so judgmental and reactive. And
So interesting, even like as generators, we can't see ourselves. And I guarantee you, everyone who is watching this does not see that. They see the leader in you. A couple of the others we've had this conversation, I saw it in you. So like instantly, I'm like, oh my God, yes, come. I can see the vision. Let's put it together. Let's do it. And then
yeah,
here I am like, okay, you said yes, we're doing it. And then you're like, change your mind. And then you're mad at me. I'm like, no, we already decided this. We're already doing this. And
yeah,
then it's funny because once you kind of tested it out and tried it, and then you were like, oh, actually, and which it requires a lot of trust. I'm going to say that you guys, all of you who are in the Believing Better series had to get to a state of trust with me,
mm,
and like that anger and that crazy stuff comes up. Then you ended up kind of being the example of that for others to go to, right? Because I remember like, it's like, yeah, I was like that too. I saw that too, which that's what's so rich about our community. It's not, we're not in it alone. When someone
yeah.
else is saying, she's batshit crazy. She doesn't understand. She doesn't get me. She's not listening to me. That's Dell's favorite one.
Right. She's not listening to me. She thinks that everything's just roses and that this is really happening in my life. And so I can have compassion for those,
Yeah.
because
She's
I
a
see what,
unicorn. She believes that. She doesn't know my life. She doesn't know I'm the
yeah,
breadwinner. She doesn't know yeah, she doesn't
she
understand.
doesn't have a full-time job. She doesn't have little
Mm.
kids. She doesn't have this. She didn't have that. And it's like, she didn't
That's so
understand.
interesting because I've had several businesses, which I've worked in full time my entire adult life. I have 5 children going on my 12th grandbaby. So for sure, I couldn't possibly understand what you were talking about.
Couldn't
Same
possibly
husband for
understand
32
I
years.
was going through.
You
But
were
no,
what?
it is funny when the other coaches come to me and they're like, or I'll see them going off and I'm like, hey, look, if you need to talk, just reach out to me, because I've been there. And so whenever we were really in it, I would show up for some of the calls, but I would be very quiet, or I really would go into it, but then back out. Like, I would go behind the curtains for a while, then I would come back, try to go back to the behind the curtains, and then come back. So, it was a long drawn out process. It definitely was. It wasn't just, oh, I gave you money and then it was magic the whole way. It was definitely, I had to show up and I had to come in and I had to decide that this was going to happen no matter what.
Mm-hmm. And I think really the more you listen and you show up, the more you understand that it's your unconscious that's trying to sabotage. And then you have these tools to wait, hold on, what? I see you. I hear you. Get in
Yeah.
the back seat. We're going to put the seatbelt on. And then you would come back forward. And it's that. And you're not the only one. I'm going to say like the hardest part for me was I had that sense of urgency and I saw so much potential in all of you. And I had so much belief in all of you. And because that one conversation or those few conversations we had at the beginning were soul conversations,
Oh, yeah.
they were rich. And it was like I think the thing that happens is I maintain the belief because where I'm sitting and where I'm seeing and that whole vision, and
Mhm.
y'all start believing your brain again. And
Mhm.
it's like, I got to come back, bring you back. And you're right. Some go, some don't come back because they can't see that, because they take it personally and think it's like me, a vendetta against them, and not realizing actually I'm just battling your brain's BS. I'm
Mhm.
battling the belief systems. And it often looks like holding a child by the hair in the ring and they are swinging at you. You know, you're just standing there, letting them swing, letting them have a hissy fit, letting all of that drama come out. And you're like, then you just pat them on the head. I love you. And they're like, ah, how do you do that? It's like, it's the belief. I believe what you guys first tell me when you come to me, when you're like, I have a vision. I have a purpose. I have this passion brewing in me. I want to do what you're doing. That's what y'all all said. I want to do what you're doing.
Mhm.
And you would tell me, and I'm like, I'm in. Let's go do it.
And they would
And
disappear. It's like, where did they
when
go?
you when you're in a group, it's like a group of puppies, right? Every once in a while, one of the little
Go.
puppies goes away, and you're like, wait a minute, there used to be 9. Where's the puppy?
Yeah, and I even did this recently, and even Peggy was like, "Where have you been? Like, what happened to you for a little while?" It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I just went do my own little thing for a little bit, and but this work is so powerful. There's nothing else like it out there. So, and especially with the self-healing masters, like that's I love this group. It's just been so amazing to have this different, more of the personal, I guess,
Mhm, mhm.
coaching instead of, the hardcore business, you know, that has been so supportive with all of the coaches. So I love seeing all the coaches, all the other members in there. And just because we all learn from other people's stories. Sometimes it's harder to look at our own story, but we can see ourselves in other people's story. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, so that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And it's just very much more, it's more like supported and softer and less of that battle, I guess, with our brains.
Yeah, and also it's so highly encouraged to drop that coach persona or that practitioner persona that you're supposed to have it together as a leader. Like
Right.
that cannot come into this container. This
Hmm.
is helping the human grow, helping the soul become embodied, helping bringing on that inner essence of who we truly are. And we take that stigma of, you have to show up a certain way because you're supposed to be the role model or the leader, and like you're not a
Right.
human. We're like, oh no, I'm even in there being a human. I'm like,
Right.
look, here's my human design chart, here's my gene keys, here's my shadows, here's my tendency to do, this is what I have to be careful about. I'm open with that. Like, I
Right.
have to watch some of my agendas. When I'm feeling urgent, it's because I see the vision and I'm trying to make it happen, and I got to back out of that, and I got to ease down if I want you guys to come on board and do it with me.
Yeah. And I always start the conversation. My brain is dot, dot, dot. Like, it's like I don't identify it as me anymore. It's
Yes.
my brain is
Yes.
doing this, or it's thinking this, and then it's like there, you just lose so much of that judgment. Like, it's
Yeah.
not,
You're
I am
able to
not using
separate.
it. This is, and it's just, it's very, very vulnerable and just very transparent. Like, this is what's going on inside. And
Mhm.
I don't have to worry about being judged for it. I can just show up and say, hey, this is broken. Like, if I was a washing machine, it'd be like, hey, this button doesn't work. This thing isn't working. My washing machine is actually broken right now. So I'm like,
Can you
so
get me back on
we just
board?
wanted to go fix it, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, we would not have any judgment about what part of the washing machine is broken.
Mhm.
But,
Get it all working again. Do you remember you called me when we were on the phone when the washing machine overflowed? That you
oh,
had a
I
lot
forgot
of
about
stuff
that.
happen at the beginning. You were
Yeah.
constantly bombarded with some of this stuff. I'm wondering if we wouldn't have had, because everything's so personal with like all of my coaches and clients. I'm wondering if we wouldn't have had that, where we were in some of that stuff personally together, if it would have had the impact.
I don't know.
Do you remember that with the water all over?
Oh my God, we were on the phone, right? And I was
Yes.
like, hold on, I hear something. And I'm like, holy shit, I gotta go. Like, the house is flooding. What is going on? But it was in the midst of that beginning. And I know, like, this shit, like, literally stuff starts breaking and it's kind of crazy. But, I don't know how I created that situation, but definitely things snowball.
Mhm. And
And
then
it's
one of
like,
the
it's going
retreats you
to
were
happen.
coming to, your husband was in the
It's
hospital. Like,
supposed to
you've got a
grow up.
lot of stuff.
Mhm. Yes. And so I think that's why I was just able to get so much transformation, is because a lot of stuff did happen. And
You stayed with it. You stayed in
I
the
stayed
game.
with it. Like I was able to look, instead of looking at the problems as this is proof why things are not working, I was able to look for clues and signs that was saying, no, this really is happening for you and not to you. So whenever we were supposed to go to retreat, I was so excited to go to retreat. I hadn't been away like from my family by myself since the boys were infants. In fact, now I'm like this hotel that I'm in now, it reminds me of that experience. So I had gone to Pennsylvania whenever the twins were infants and Maury was 3. I had gone away for a work convention, and it was in Pennsylvania. It was the first time I flew by myself. I think I had flown before. It might have been the first time I flew. I don't even know. Um, but I was in this fancy hotel in this city I'd never been to, and I was like, what's going on? And coming here today, I feel kind of the same. It's weird. And so to me it's a clue too, because now we're having this conversation in this room. And so it also reminded me of that time in Pennsylvania when my mom and my sister were driving me to the airport. There was a very important life event that happened, and it's pretty much tied to the first call that we had together. So it's just, I just take those little strands and those threads that are sewn together, and I look at the bigger picture that, okay, I am not doing this on my own. I'm being supported. Everything is happening for me, not to me. And then I can find comfort in that, that if everything falls apart, it's not my fault. Like
I can trust.
I
I
can
can
trust.
trust if it's falling apart that there's something coming from
There's
that,
a
right?
bigger picture. There's
Yeah,
something
yeah, yeah.
that might even be 10 years from now that's going to be tied to that event. And that's then you see why it happened. Like right now, when you're in the midst of it, you may have no clue why this is happening.
Mm,
And you can sit with that for a while and it's fine. Like sit with it, feel it, like just be with it. But then at some point, know that you can come out of it and you're going to get through this and you're going to be stronger. And, and a lot of times I've shared, you might be going through something and it might suck, but it might not even be for you. You might be going through that for someone else that's going to need it later. And so that
mhm,
also gets me through it.
mhm. So, what would you tell the person who has no idea what we're talking about? They don't know what self-healing masters is. They don't know what integrative coaching is. They don't understand like that their mind is separate from their being, right?
Mhm.
Like you were coming, like, what would we tell the person who's just like, my life sucks and I want it not to suck, or it could suck and I want to feel better while it sucks? Like if someone were coming from that, what would you say? Like, could you relate to?
Yeah. So if someone is thinking right now, okay, like, no, really, like 2020, life sucks and I can't do a damn thing about it, I would say, actually, there is some things that suck and that's can actually be okay, and that you have more control on how you respond and how you feel about your current circumstances than you actually realize currently. And you can either choose to stay with the suck if that's what's most comfortable to you, or if you're very brave and willing, there's a different way. And I would like to invite you on your own journey to discovering that.
Mhm. And so would you say that the thing that's made the most impact is having the personal support or having the tool set, or is it a combination? What keeps you in the game
Definitely.
now?
Yeah, for me, I'm a tool. I love the tools in my toolbox, and those are great. But there's nothing like the support. So I believe that we're all here for a reason, and we are here to go through our own transformation in order to carry other people with us and to lift other people. So,
Mhm.
we climb that ladder and then we reach down and lift the others up. And I believe that's the sole purpose of all of us. And so that is that's the most invaluable part of it for me, especially since like I had lost a sense of community. I had lost a sense of belonging. And yeah, so that's the most important. I mean, the tools are great, but you can get tools other places, right? There's other tool
Mhm.
shops. I think that it's the community. That's so unique and so special.
Mhm. I felt because I responded to with Self-Healing Masters,
Mhm.
because we were doing all of the business stuff together, and the coaching program is amazing. The entrepreneurial part of it is amazing, but
Mhm.
it's like really we needed a container to just be the human who was just experiencing life, and
Mhm.
then as this person becomes richer, this business becomes richer. It was like that bridge to be able to be supported as a community, but as the human aspect of ourselves, and then as the service provider.
Yeah.
What I
And I
felt.
don't think that we're meant to go at it alone. I
Oh
don't
God,
think
it's
that we're
terrible
meant
by
to just have
myself.
tools and go figure it out.
Because listen, I've done really well in business. I've had a few locations. I've made lots of money. My online business is really good. But then I found myself by myself. Like I was like, yeah, and now what? Like the passion to help others,
Mhm.
it's like was stronger than that standing on the top of the mountain with a bag full of money. I'm like, yeah, that the money doesn't really drive healing focused entrepreneurs. The passion and the purpose and the connection and the helper drives us, but we have to get out of the scarcity in order to receive the money for us to help them. I see
Right.
that over and over and over with you guys, because I think it's because we're healing focused entrepreneurs. What would you say we're coming to a close, to the part of you when you were like, she's crazy, she doesn't understand, this is too hard. Like, what would you today say to that part of you? You already do it. I don't know if you already do it, because the next challenge, I think you're piggybacking and using that to stay in. So I'm curious to hear what it is. Do I need to ask it differently?
Yeah, ask it a little different if you don't
Okay.
mind.
So there's a part of you that has not yet discovered some things.
Mhm.
She wants more. She wants to grow.
Mhm.
She hasn't experienced this yet. And so when she gets challenged with, okay, we're going to get a little unfamiliar and a little uneasy, and we're going to try something new,
Yeah.
what's the phrase you tell yourself in order to trust and do it?
Be her now. Is that the phrase? I'm like, oh, my clues, but
It's not
so
a, it's not a trick question. I really just want to
yeah,
know,
I
what do you
actually
tell
hope
yourself?
I did actually have this conversation with myself yesterday. So I think this is probably the best answer. Was I was actually sitting in a drive-through, and um so I volunteered. So I'm always constantly like one-upping myself and growing and volunteering, like, oh, that's the next step. So it's like these stepping stones that appear, and then you just take the next step, and then it's like all of a sudden it's scary again, because it's
Right.
just right, it's the next thing. And then it was like I felt that dread in my body,
Mm-hmm.
and it was so scary, and I was like, why do I do this to myself? I could just go home and eat Cheetos, or do, like, why am I like next level, right? And then it was like my higher self stepped in, and she was like, wait, hold on, I see the bigger picture.
Mm-hmm.
And we've gone through this a few times now, and this is the first stage. So you say yes, and then you freak out and you like close, and that's okay. So we're gonna feel it. It's gonna suck for a couple of minutes, but as soon as I shined that awareness on it, then it was like, okay, we could do this, right? I can do hard
Mm-hmm.
things, and this is not gonna last. So this is a phase. So then it's gonna wash through, and then it's gonna be fun and unexpected, and then, you can't even imagine what it's gonna be like on the other side. And then when it's all over, it's gonna be like, oh my God, I can't believe I just did that.
It's fun watching your energy do that, like go act it out and then
Yeah.
come here, which I
Yeah.
think is like, I'll say though, what I see it as is like that PUN, back to present, back to
Oh yeah.
unpacking, and then navigate
Every time, every
every
time.
time.
And so it's getting easier now that I'm have that awareness. And it's like, because I want to keep telling myself, oh, that's your personality, but you're not cut out for this. That's your personality. And it's like,
They
no,
can do it, you can't.
right. This is uncomfortable. Just quit while you're ahead. You're doing fine. Just stay status quo. And it's like, no, like I'm supposed to be doing some really big things. And yes, it's scary. But then also what I would tell her is that the more you close, smaller things are going to be scary. So going to the grocery store is going to be scary. Having company when your house is not clean, it's going to be scary. Like going a different route because there's a detour in the car and you never went on that road before is going to be scary. Like life is going to be scary. Shit's going to happen. It's going to suck. But if you have this vision of place that you want to go, and you know that the next step is what you need to take, and it's scary, it's like, it's okay. You get to choose your scary and like be very intentional,
Mhm.
right? Because you can't, life is uncertain. We think we have certainty and we can create that false sense of certainty, but it's not reality. It's not real. So I know where I'm going, and it's going to be intentional, and it's going to be scary, but it's going to be okay because I'm supported with this community. So that's the
And I
best.
think you just said it. You said, I have really big, you're like, no, 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 no. I got really big things to do. I feel like that's your catchphrase. That's your new belief. Like, nope,
Mhm.
doing it. I got big things to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
So good. So Danielle, this is kind of, I'm going to end with this because it's kind of a funny part, but it'll also let her talk about what she does. Is whenever she came in, I was so fascinated, because she was like wanting to know this mind body connection. And we were going to do all this stuff because she was coming as a pharmacist. And I was like, yes, we're going to go out and help people heal chronic pain and all of that stuff. And we kind of did go down that route and explored it. And then this style thing kept coming up. And so I watched it go back and forth, but then one day she was just so excited with these hair extensions and eyelashes that I just like, okay, you got it. You win. This is it. Whatever's happening right now, it's so fun. It's so joyful. You're like, let's go with it. If that comes up later, it comes up later. You and Mallory both, this has been the thing. Because whenever the health and wellness practitioners come in, I'm like, let's go out and heal, right? Let's do the physical healing, and didn't realize that healing the self-image is
Part of it.
healing.
It is. It's
And
part
then
of it. It's
helping.
part of self-care. It really is. There's a superficial part of it that you can think of, but
If you think
honestly,
that way.
if you believe that way, but like this, if this makes you happy, then it's part of your self-care.
And it does. You glow when
Yeah. And
you
so
put
I
on pretty
remember that.
clothes.
I remember being surprised that you were like, okay, let's do it. And I was like, she's not mad at me? Like, she's not gonna kick me out the tribe? Like, what's going on? But you were like, okay, yeah, let's go do it. And I was like,
Oh,
okay.
I truly honor that inner essence. It might take some time for it to come on board, right? Because that's not how you came in. That's not what you came in for. You came in with the other, And so I think the greatest thing I can give all of you in Self-Healing Masters and the integrative coaching, all of it, is for me to just disconnect, watch, hold, and then be there as it's all working itself out, because that mask has to come off. And so when you come in with the mask, you don't really know what you're saying, what you're doing, what you want, because it's the conditioning that's speaking. So it takes some time for it to unravel. But then there's this moment with every one of you where suddenly you were in this essence and you were in this, and I can peg that. And I'm like, that's it. What is that? What is
That's
happening?
the energy that's going to take you through all of that. Is the energy, and that's what people are going to be attracted to. That's what's going to come easy to you. And if you love it, you could just, do it all day long and have the stamina for it. So
it's a non-attachment for everything, guys.
that's
What
the
someone
even
told
flow.
you, what you thought, what everyone else, all of it. If you can just come back into neutrality and drop. All right. We actually went 5 minutes over. So I'm going to end this. So those who have the replay can stop. Anyone who's here who wants to know anything from Danielle, wants to give feedback. Danielle is a style and image coach. We put integrative style and integrative style and image coach because it's about styling your mind and body as you're going out and doing big things in the world. So really it's styling yourself with confidence. It's embodying the way that you serve, the purpose that you have, the passion that you feel, embodying that in your image, in your brand as you go out and do big things. So if that's something that you're interested in, we'll have contact information below. Danielle, thank you for coming on. Really appreciate the conversation and the journey back a bit. It was super fun.
Yeah, that was fun to look back. So much fun. I love catching up on all of these interviews. I love that what you're doing, and we're getting a lot of good feedback about it too. So thanks for having me on.
And we have some really fun stuff coming next year. So guys, stay tuned.